Good morning, everyone. Thank you for everyone that's joining us today for this webinar. We're, uh, we're working to host webinars similar to these on a monthly basis here. Our goal is really to share some conversations we're having with our clients and business contacts that we feel have value and insight that will benefit others. During this webinar, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, feel free to use that tool there. We'll see them as they appear, and then we can address them as they come up throughout this webinar. Today, I'm excited to talk with Jackie Tiso of JMT Consulting. Jackie is the founder and the CEO of JMT, where they work exclusively with nonprofits. Jackie, I'll let you expand upon all that JMT offers. If you can describe your business and what it is that you do.
Sure, Kim. Thank you. So my company, JMT Consulting, provides consulting services and software solutions to support nonprofits and their organizational operations. We're pretty much best known for accounting software and budgeting solutions. And that starts with, I'm a finance accountant. So that's how the company got started. But we also help organizations with business process reviews, workflow improvements, strategic planning, grant management, those areas as well.
Okay, great. So, I know every entrepreneur faces different challenges in starting their own business. It could depend on the industry that they're in, possibly some differences, especially, for maybe women entrepreneurs particularly. So as a women-owned business, can you tell us how your journey was unique and if there was any specific challenges you had to face?
Sure. So I founded JMT 30 years ago. We had our 30th anniversary, January 8th of this year.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. So when I started, the accounting and the tech field was much more male dominated. So I was unusual in that I was a woman accountant, building a business and being in tech. So really was not common at all. And most of my counterparts and my peers, as I started building the business, were male. So I learned to work differently in some ways. And then I was also working exclusively with nonprofits, which was very unique. I was, and always have been, dedicated to a very specific vertical. And JMT has been, built from the ground up with that focus. So that also was very unique. And so it made us have to sort of look at everything a little bit differently, since we weren't going in with that for-profit perspective.
Right. Sure. I know you had been working with not-for-profits prior to starting JMT. So I guess what was it that, kind of triggered you to kind of decide you wanted to start your own business and start up JMT Consulting?
Well, I was starting my family, and so I needed a schedule that was flexible. I knew I wanted to continue to work with nonprofits. So I said, you know what, I think I'll start my own business, JMT, and offer my services on a project basis. I had, because of my work, for 10 years plus working with nonprofits, I had a number of CPA firms that I worked with. I had great relationships with. So I reached out to my network to see if there was a need, which I knew there was, and how I might support them in supporting their clients. And so we started out very small from the dining room of my house.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And working with those relationships you already had with the existing accountants. Yeah. So good. That's always a good referral source, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, I know you had the background already working in the not-for-profit industry in general. But as you said, you decide to focus on, working strictly, exclusively with the not-for-profits. So can you explain maybe the importance of that specialization that you decided to stay with strictly not-for-profits?
Well, one of the things when you are creating a business or working within a business is really understanding what is the need. Does the need exist for your product or service? What is that need? What's the specificity around it? And in working with a number of nonprofit organizations, I knew from experience that there was a great need for help when it came to the technology and systems and back office operations of organizations. And that need was to really have the domain expertise of the nonprofit in this case, and so that we really understood the unique requirements that our clients have. Things like how are they funded, what is their reporting requirements, the grant management requirements, and tied into all of that was also about being mission driven. My history was coming from mission driven organizations where it wasn't about sort of selling a widget or what's our profit margin on this product line or this business unit. It was taking those for-profit, very sound business practices and bringing them into how a nonprofit looks at something like, how many meals have we delivered or are we serving? How many homes have we built? How many clients have we cared for? Foster care children we have placed. And so what do we need to manage our organization to deliver on our mission? And so, you take that concept and you could apply it to any firm, whether it's for-profit or not-for-profit. Really, what is the mission of the organization, and why does that mission exist? And then how can you achieve that mission? What is needed to really be successful?
Great. So to kind of build on that, I know the different positions you've held in the past, the firsthand experience that you've had, that knowing all the challenges that these not-for-profits face, and as you said, trying to ensure that they're meeting, their mission. What, how is your previous experiences? You've been a CFO, controller for different not-for-profits. How has that helped you kind of in starting JMT and building on that?
Oh, that's a great question. So it actually was a huge help. The first 4 nonprofits that I worked for, was hired, coincidentally, they were all moving and evaluating a new accounting software. And this was in the 80s. And so when I went into my position, one of my initiatives was to bring in new software, implement new software. And so I went through that process 4 times, 4 different organizations, and it was extremely unpleasant experience. I hadn't had any experience implementing, with the first one, I had no experience implementing, didn't know what to look for, did my homework. I was a smart woman, did my homework, but I didn't know all the moving parts. And with each one of the implementations, I became a little better, asked smarter questions, learned from mistakes that had been made. But what I realized was that as a general rule, the teams that were implementing the solutions for me, they didn't understand nonprofits. So they didn't have a full lens of experience in what was needed in that domain. So I found out a lot of times I was teaching the experts. So that was, one takeaway that I had from it. And, that's very difficult when you don't know what you don't know.
Very true. I say that all the time.
Right. So here you're implementing software and it's like, okay, here's what the scope has been said to be, but I don't know what that really means. And so pieces would get missing. I would go back and I found myself paying. I was almost like a hostage in so many of these implementations. And the systems were implemented, they got live, but when I looked at what do I want to do and how do I want to help organizations, what's JMT's mission, I realized there was a need for a company that understood nonprofits, was specialized in nonprofits, understood software solutions, and would implement them. And so basically I took all of my bad experiences and created a model and said, okay, I'm going to turn this around, and how would I do it differently? And so I came out and I said, okay, well, we're going to be fixed fee. We're not going to do hourly billing.
Mhm.
I'm not going to hold my clients hostage. We're supposed to be the expert. If we miss something, then that's on JMT. So 100% guaranteed projects. Longer support. So I looked at all of those things that were, points of failure or challenge in my experiences, and I brought them in and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And at the core of all of it, and here again, it goes to, I think, just working with that mission, is we operated from day one, and this is our culture today, that doing the right thing is always good for business, always good for business. And so that's how we basically operate. And I took all of that from my experiences.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been successful for all these years, as we were saying, initially your business plan, how did you develop the growth plan, and what areas, did you decide to focus on first? What was,
Yep.
the plan?
Well, I am huge. I think this here again is part of the accountant background. I am huge in terms of having a plan and putting the right level of work into building out the plan, recognizing I don't know everything. And so when I was first starting the business, I attended leadership workshops and conferences, read books, spoke to my network, and learned as much as I possibly could, building my plan. The first hire I made was actually a marketing person. She was phenomenal. And she did a great job right out of the gate of providing more opportunities for JMT. Coincidentally, I went to another leadership workshop, and one of the things that they spoke about was especially when you're first starting out as a sole proprietor, is really understanding, what are you good at doing? What are you not good at doing? What do you love to do? And so I looked at it and I was like, okay, I don't love doing admin. So I said, okay, so my second hire was an admin person, and it came directly from that workshop. And that allowed me to focus on what I was really good at and what I enjoyed doing,
Right.
which was meeting with organizations and sitting down with them and talking about their needs. And marketing, of course, brought in more business. So then I hired a consultant to help me implement and do the work. And it slowly built from there to where we are today at 53 employees.
Yeah. No, that's a great, advice, to kind of, as you said, to say, figuring out what it is you like to do, making sure that you're doing it. And that's, what you're comfortable doing, and finding, the support for the areas that maybe are,
Exactly.
of less interest to you, but it's still necessary. And then knowing that you have the right support,
Yeah.
behind
And
you.
Yeah, and it's so hugely important because when you look at the different aspects of a business and the functions of a business, and
Right.
especially if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, the odds are you can probably do all of them. You can do some marketing, you can yourself, you can do some sales yourself, you know, admin, all the pieces. But really understanding what you really love to do,
Mhm.
that's where you really excel. And
Right.
so it was just a very interesting sort of, process that I went through. And I'm a huge proponent of, opportunities like this where you can either through, the blogs or conferences or workshops. I always find that if you remove yourself for an hour or few hours a day, couple of days, your mind opens up and you can think about different things. Whereas when you're sitting in front of your desk or doing the same thing, it's very hard.
Yeah, and taking that time, you said finding the resource,
Yes,
that you can utilize and taking the time away, as you said, just to kind of go to those conferences or read and learn and really, yeah. So,
correct.
yeah, not always easy, but
No, it is definitely not easy.
yeah,
And the other thing that came out of it was also really uh, making time to work, on the business, not just in the business. And that was another concept that I knew about, but it really didn't resonate as a core to how do you build a business. Well, you have the plan, you build a plan, and that's working on the business, but continuing to look at that and to actually quantify it by putting time set aside. 10% of every week at a minimum is dedicated to working on the business, something that will bring the business forward, achieve a strategic goal or initiative. And so that's very front and center and always has been for JMT for 30 years.
right. Yeah, it's very easy to, just heads down, kind of do what we all do and not take that time or recognize that we need to factor in a certain percentage or hours, whatever it may be, that you determine is necessary. Because, as we say, the phone calls, you can get, kind of wrapped up in anything at any point. So it may require extra hours in the day and week and whatever else it may be. But, you
Correct.
know, yeah. So, I know at one point when we spoke a while back, you had mentioned the core building blocks of your company.
Mhm.
So if you could tell us more about these building blocks, the essential components, the focus, that are
Yep.
necessary for building the successful business that you have.
Uh, so probably I mentioned mission previously, and
Mhm.
I do uh, attribute my passion around mission and vision to my working with nonprofits and how my career started early on. And so JMT has a mission, and it is core to who we are, the decisions we make, how we deliver our services. And our mission is to support uh, nonprofits in achieving their mission. And we're 100% about that. And because we know our work can help nonprofit organizations deliver their mission more effectively, we can be impactful and support them in delivering their mission. And so when we think about whether it is adding a new service or a product, changing how we deliver a service, we look at our mission and driven by our mission. We also have the vision for the company, and we want to be the leading resource for nonprofit organizations. We may not deliver all of the goods or services, and probably won't, but we want organizations to know that if they needed something, even if we don't do that particular item, we have a network of wonderful firms that we work with that we are very happy to help organizations to talk to. So mission and vision are hugely important. Then we have the culture. And our culture, being mission driven, it permeates here again, everything we do. All of our hiring, the most important, everybody talks about, the most important quote unquote asset that a company has, a firm has is, its people.
People. Yep.
And that is an absolutely true statement to the very depths. Unfortunately, I think so often we get so caught up that we disconnect a little bit from the culture. And so for JMT, the culture is hugely, hugely important. It is driven by our mission. It is a core pillar. In our strategic plan, we have 3 pillars. They are growth, profitability, and culture. Culture is the biggest and most important one. And the definition of culture for JMT is an extraordinary experience for anyone who works at or with JMT. So all of our hiring is all about, is that person a reflection of our culture? And so when, we post a position, we have lots of wonderful applicants that come through and lots of skills. But what's most important is that core person, because we believe we can, show someone how to work any of the software or phones or whatever the position may require. But the core of who that person is, that's who they are. We can't change that.
Yeah.
So, when I look at essential components for JMT, those are really huge. And then the planning. The planning piece has always been extremely important. Most people, I think, look at a plan and they will build one. But then it too often goes into a file cabinet. And that day to day, week to week, month to month, how are we operating with the plan gets lost. And so when we look at it, we understand we have a plan that we're working towards. It is a living document. And are we going to, we try not to have more than 3 objectives, initiatives per department. And it's, everyone is looking at it all the time and we're reviewing it, and it's a living document in that it evolves. COVID is a perfect example. We had a plan going into 2020 and had to totally rewrite that plan. So, this part about working on the business versus in it, we actually track time. So we want our team to work on the business. And so we have a mechanism so that the team can track because that's extremely valuable, important time to us. And it's not, we don't look at that as like, well, what did you do? Well, you didn't check mark this, you got this done. Because the real value in growth and future for JMT is that working on the business.
Right. Yeah, I love that, the working on business, not just in the business, and being so mission, focused and helping, as you said, you have your own mission that you're focused on, and then all your clients and their, so I'm sure their mission may even, change or develop a little bit more as you're working with them. So that's it. Yeah. So, and I know we also had spoken about, the importance of building these strong relationships with the clients, becoming, the the trusted advisor, someone that they go to, and understanding that you do have this network, because we work very similarly. I know we
Mhm.
mentioned that in the past, but how, we do what we do, and but recognizing other needs, or recommendations and things for the clients, and being able to make those introductions to someone who can help them. And it's really just recognizing what's needed first, and then who's best suited to
It's
help them.
it's
Yeah.
hugely important. You know, I can't stress it enough.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, that building the relationships and understanding what they are and how they work. Um,
Right.
and, you know, we look at it that you cannot uh, service and support anyone, any person or any business if you don't have a strong relationship, because that's the nature of working together is based on, and we look at it as a partnership
Right.
in everything we do. And we view it in every way, full circle, every interaction with anyone, uh, whether it's the senior leadership at an organization, the middle management of the organization, the tactical workers at an organization, uh, any of our software publisher partners, our team, they all have to happen the same way, that it is a very, very strong relationship built on integrity and trust.
Mhm.
Um, and it's hugely important and it permeates everything. And, we operate under, for us, that strong relationship. What it means for us is we operate always following, the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. And that is extremely core here again to our culture. And it starts at the very top for an organization and has to permeate through all the way down through all the levels. Uh, you know, and so we've, you know, we've built JMT over the 30 years with these core values,
Yeah.
Of the strong relationship and the partnerships that we have. And here again, a lot of times people are using these words, and we hear them all the time and read them in business books, and we'll hear people talking about them. But making sure that you're actually realizing it in your company is extremely, extremely important. It's vital.
Mm.
I think it's we always hear the words "it's a small world," and it's getting smaller all the time, and
Yeah.
that's absolutely the case. And and especially in the nonprofit, in our vertical, in the nonprofit and environment, it's extremely the case. And our strong relationships, here again, they have helped JMT to be successful, because we connect with the people, not just the organizations at an organizational type of level. Oh, we have this client ABC. Yes, we have that client ABC, but we actually have the relationships with Jane and John and
Yeah.
Sally and
All the individuals, sure.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um, you know, strong relationships with all those people.
Yeah.
Uh, and and here again, all of this is good for business. We're doing it for the right reasons, but the return is so wonderful. People in the nonprofit, especially, they will leave one organization, they will go to their next home, the next
Mhm.
organization, and they will reach out and bring JMT in.
Right.
And we are like so proud and privileged that we have that relationship and that they want to continue to work with us at their new organization.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could go on for an hour about the importance of strong relationships.
Yeah. No, very true. And as you said, you've got so many clients that have been long-lasting clients, and that now as you're, um, adding the fact that if they move to another organization and they continue to work with you, just shows exactly what you're explaining, that these relationships are there and how important they are.
Yes. And the other
So,
thing I think that's important in the relationship is um, there are absolutely going to be times when something doesn't go right. A product doesn't work the way it's supposed to, a service doesn't happen the way it's supposed to. Um, and those things are going to happen. When you have a strong relationship, you're able to work together and come through to a solution. Um, and that's really important as well. The ability to be able to stand up and say, we made a mistake. We should have done this and we didn't. Having that ability, and I think so often what happens in business is uh, we have fear of not succeeding or showing that we made a mistake. And so here again, in a strong relationship, it may even in the beginning just be a strong relationship that it's stronger on JMT's side, but the ability for us to step up and say, you know what, we're going to fix that because we made a mistake.
mhm,
That's building that relationship and actually makes it stronger,
right.
so.
Does make sense. Yeah. I know you touched upon change in 2020 and kind of what changes you had to kind of make within JMT. I know there's been many challenges for many businesses and individuals, and I know when we were talking last, a few weeks back, we were talking about focusing on the positives and working to develop systems to kind of continue to meet client needs,
Mhm.
improve communication, so many different things that we will need to kind of focus on. But how has COVID impacted your business, and how have you had to pivot?
So COVID definitely, as we talked about a few weeks back, definitely impacted JMT
Mhm.
as almost every other company. Um, I think, COVID has been an inflection point for many businesses, including JMT. It's that point where things veer and change. And, when you have life altering events such as COVID hit, it impacts everything we do, how we do it, uh, who, does it. Um, Few are immune from the impact of it. And so it impacted our industry, the nonprofit sector.
Mhm.
It impacted all our clients. It impacted JMT and all of our staff and their extended families,
Sure.
everything. As the leader of JMT, I've always felt that um, my job is to uh, stand up and, you know, guide my team and do that, with as steady a hand as possible uh, by communicating and having transparency and always being inclusive, letting my team know here's what's going on, uh,
Mhm.
both in the industry and within JMT with our clients, um, how we're going to go forward, what our plans are. And as I would say to my team all the time, I didn't have a crystal ball. None of us have a crystal ball.
No, none of us did. No. Or
So,
do.
right.
Yeah.
I remember following the news this time last year, and then closing our office March 16th, our
Yeah.
3 offices. And, I immediately instituted weekly all staff calls. And I shared with the team every week what was going on and how we were responding, and how we were going to get through operationally. That was our JMT piece and what I did there. Then in addition to that, we, of course, coincide, side by side concurrently with JMT, I looked at, okay, what do we need to do for our clients? I think the big pivoting, we did like everybody else. We were updating our budgets and forecasts almost weekly. We were delivering services. I mean, we were always remote, but we looked at how we were delivering services. And it was all hands on deck, everybody chipping in. And I think what 2020 and COVID did was it provided a window of opportunity, this inflection point provided a window of opportunity, even with all the awful things going on, for us to look at, everything we were doing and how we were doing it, and how could we position ourselves to be stronger than ever when we come out of COVID. Yeah. And all of it wouldn't have been possible at JMT without every single one of JMT's staff. Everyone, yes, I'm the CEO and I, leading the company, but that company, everyone stood together, and, so proud of everything we've done so far. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that's a great team that you have then, that everyone was able to do that. I know we talked about that in communication, obviously, and setting up the weekly calls or whatever your protocol was within your office. We've done something similar, and I imagine others have done the same, and expanding into different technology and trying to learn different technologies and see what's out there. And again, that everything changing on a you said budgets and weekly basis, but that's kind of trying things out, and then pivoting again, I guess, really is the best way to explain that, once you figure out what works kind of best.
And we shared budget. I mean, I shared the financials of the company. It was true transparency. We were in this together, and we were going to get through it together. We were going to do everything we could to get through it together.
Yeah. And it's hard because, I know we both spoke about, communicating with the clients and what's changed and how that's changed, and trying to ensure that's still taking place, just maybe in a new way, where these in-person or typical in-person meetings are really not taking place, and the traditional handshakes are just on hold for however long that may be. We said utilizing all this technology that's available to continue to have those meetings, or even new clients. I know we talked about that too last time we spoke, but if there's anything you want to share in that regard, I guess.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because when it comes to technology, I have been leading the charge for a decade plus on the power of the cloud.
It is something that you guys have been way ahead of most in regards to cloud technology. So
Yes, and especially for our vertical,
yeah,
nonprofits,
it's true.
it technology has always been a lagging area for nonprofit organizations, and totally understandable. Their funding is about trying to serve their mission in delivering them services. But I can remember going in to meetings in 2007 and 2008 and doing speaking engagements with finance, accounting systems, and you know, saying we're going to be in the cloud. Finances are going to be in the cloud, and all the CPAs and the CFOs and controllers, everybody's shaking their head, no, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. And but we're there now, and
Right.
and JMT actually started moving our systems to the cloud back in 2004. So as we started, we're growing further and we were hiring staff across the country. I realized we needed to be able to have systems that would support us, and the cloud made natural sense. That's 17 years ago. We actually started putting our stuff in the cloud, our CRM and things like that. So, and JMT, we worked in a remote environment for years. Our growth, our 53, team members, our staff are across the country and Australia, Melbourne office. So, most of it is remote. So
Right.
we have been in this model for a while. So I think for JMT, the technology use wasn't an issue for us. We were experienced with it. What we did have to change, what the impact of COVID did do for us, was how do we deliver our services for our clients in this new remote reality? Because our clients, historically, our clients wanted us on site.
Right.
Their systems were on site, they wanted us on site. And, in this area, and I read a article, late last year that actually spoke about how one of the things that has come out of COVID is that it has pushed forward the use of technology by 10 years or more in one fell swoop. And we certainly see that. We're, for our clients who had little to no experience on Zoom meetings and working through the Zoom environment and accessing their systems remotely, they were used to sitting at a desk and, their files were shared right on their local desktop, or maybe in file share or SharePoint, which was on servers sitting in the closet. And so now, overnight, they can't go into that office and that desk.
Yeah, it's
And
that physical location. Sure.
right, so our services, we had to change and say, okay, now we need to help our clients be able to operate within this remote environment. So, getting familiar with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and helping them in those areas, sharing documents, setting up, online systems, getting access, setting up their systems so they could get access to their systems from their home office. And, we also dealt with some of our clients that were in, hosted environments. We had two of our publishing partners had ransomware attacks. And so those systems were down, basically there was no accounting system. And so we had to help our clients work through those areas. So COVID had, tremendous impact in many different ways. And now organizations are looking at it, and we had a number of our clients that came to us that had just converted over to our our cloud application, financial management accounting application, and them saying to us, if we didn't have this, I don't know how we would have worked, which is true. Their servers would have been sitting in they would have had to set up VPNs and go through all these hoops.
Right. Which is not easy to do just immediately.
Exactly. And we help clients with that. And, you're jumping through hoops and, they're not user-friendly systems as a general rule. And so, so we had to really pivot there in terms of what we were doing to support our clients. And, one of the great things that I think came out of it was historically our clients were always felt, no, we need to have training and education in person. We could never do training and education online.
Remotely,
Right. And what we have now is a phenomenal education and training program, and we've expanded it even more directly as a result of COVID. And our clients are getting better educated and trained on their solutions in this new environment, whereas they felt that would never have happened.
Right. Yeah, a bit of a surprise to everybody, right?
Yes.
A forced surprise, but
yeah.
Very true. I know there is one question here that did pop up asking what the most valuable lesson you learned in the beginning and how did it help you continue to build a successful business?
The most valuable lesson. Oh, that's a great question. You're not alone. I think a lot of times, and especially for me, historically, not the case now, but historically, it was, asking for questions or asking for support. It is amazing how much support there is actually out there and how wonderful people are in providing support and help and insight. So that was an extremely valuable lesson. I mentioned the other one about the strengths. And I actually use that when I talk sometimes to my team. We have just wonderful people. But I will say to people, so, you do this, you're good at this. Do you love doing this? That question of what do you love? What can you do well? Right. What can you do, okay? What can't you do? What do you love to do? And what don't you love to do?
Yeah. You're asking the questions that some may not be asking themselves. So
exactly. And, I use that one. That resonated with me so strongly personally. And I use that, talking with my team, and also really understanding, you always want to have a plan. That was the other piece, is JMT is where it is because we have always had a plan. And that plan has been built together. And we have worked on it and made it happen together. And we do them every 3 years we have a 3-year strategic plan, and then we have an annual, what we call the playbook. That is the steps and objectives to accomplish the strategic plan. And so hugely important, because that goes to that mission and vision and the focus to keep you moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I guess I kind of was going to ask the same question as a kind of a wrap up. So it's ironic that the question was that, if there was just like one, kind of one piece of advice that you could give other business owners, if you want to direct it to women business owners or just to any, entrepreneurs out there, just, as the last takeaway kind of for today.
And that's these are like great questions. I really have to keep on going back to the mission, vision, and culture. Know exactly why you're in business, why you're doing what you do, and where you want to go. You know, what is your vision of where you want to go? A lot of times it could be, you know, I want to start here and I want to build it to 10 people, and that's what where I want to be. And I want to have that business for, you know, serving or whatever. And that's fine. It could be you want to be 150 employee firm. But that you want to have that vision, and then the plan of how to get there, understanding that you really got to have visibility of the plan and your team together. It's not, you know, when I say you, I don't mean you alone. I mean whoever your team is as you build it, and that culture of building the right team. JMT would not be where it is today without the phenomenal people that have worked at JMT over its 30 years. Hugely, hugely important. I can't stress it enough. And every person being aligned with the culture is so important.
Very important. Yeah. So great. Well, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to share with anyone, or is there anything else you want to expand on, or?
No, I don't think so. You know, well, there is one last thing.
Okay.
If you haven't guessed it or seen it so far, I am passionate about what we do. And so if you have a business, be passionate about it. And at the point that that passion starts to, you know, wane a little bit, take a look at it and figure out why, and a plan for, you know, what needs to happen to
To make
reinvent
it,
it again. Yes.
yeah, make it passionate again. That makes
Yes. Because it's
perfect sense. Very good. Yeah. Very good point. So great. Well, I thank you so much for your time today and talking and, you know, sharing all your expertise and advice. I don't see any other questions that I'm like see pop up at this point. So yeah, but
It's been a pleasure. I
yeah, thank you
love
so much.
talking.
Yeah, it was great information and a lot of advice for everybody. So, and so thank you again for all your time, and for anyone else that's still listening in. You know, stay tuned. We're gonna plan some additional webinars, so we'll be sharing the details of what we're planning for April soon.
Very
So,
good.
okay. All right. Well, thank you again, Jackie.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Stay well. Okay.